Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Jaradhamada prayers. And today we'll be covering Lord Nrsmhadev's stories. And today is his appearance day. As we are celebrating, we will seek fearlessness at his lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So आज हम लोग we are celebrating Lord Nrsmhadev's appearance day, and on this occasion we are seeking his blessings and seeking the blessings of acharyas. So please join us. So today we'll be covering this class from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the invocation mantra of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll say that 3 times. Please join us. Hare Krishna, Devi.
Verse?
Yes, so this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. Verse is 8.5. And Devi, can we share the link? Yet at the same time, let's do the invocation mantra. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna. So I will cover. So please join us as we read this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam. No, not Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 8.5. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. So again, this verse instills fearlessness in the heart of the devotees. So let's, we should read it like at least 3 times. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bhringa. Translation by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Nrsmhadev. All glories to Nrsmhadev, who is the Lord of Prahlad Maharaj, and like a honeybee is always engaged in beholding the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune. Padma, that's her name. Hare Krishna. So, please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So here in this particular verse, means for the purport on this verse, Srila Prabhupada, he is revealing the amazing truth that how Lord is always embracing the goddess of fortune, and her name is referred to as Padma in this verse, and Mukha Padma, so her lotus-like face he is beholding. So he is always embracing the lotus-like face of the goddess of fortune, Padma. And so this is also mentioned in the commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam written by the great commentator Srila Sridhar Swami. So Srila Sridhar Swami is an authority on Srimad Bhagavatam as revealed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Lord Krishna, in the mood of Radharani. And so he actually, Srila Sridhar Swami, he composed a verse in his commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically the verse 1 of chapter 87, 10th canto. And this is very dear to the devotees, so please, join me as, we read this together. Vagaisha yasya vadane lakshmir yasya cha vakshasi yasyastre hridaye samvit tam Nrsimham aham bhaje. So Lord Nrsimhadev is always assisted by who? By goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And he is Lakshmi Yasya Cha Vakshasi. So he is always embracing the goddess of fortune to his chest. So Lord has the Shivatsa, the white curly hair on the middle of his chest. So that's again Shivatsa. So she is goddess of fortune, is on his chest. So very dear to the Lord. And Yasyastre Hidaya Samve. So he is always complete in knowledge within himself. So he is full in knowledge. And Tam Nrsimham Aham Bhaje. So let us offer obeisances unto Lord Nrsimhadev. That Lord Nrsimhadev, please give us shelter, please give us your mercy, so that we become fearless and take to the devotional service, and all our impediments in devotion are destroyed. So we are praying this because when we take to devotional life, automatically various kind of demons or enemies appear, just like Hiranyakashipu was like a demon towards, and his demonic attitude towards his own son Prahlad Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And also in the commentary of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the very first verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, first verse, Srila Sridhar Swami, he describes Lord Nrsmhadev in this way. So again, that description is also given. This is also very dear to the devotees. Prahlad Hridaya Haladam Bhakta Vidya Vidarinam Sharadindu Rachim Vande Prarindra Vadanam Harim. So, we must all please join us in offering obeisances unto Lord Nrsmhadev. And he is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj from within his heart. So Lord Nrsmhadev is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj from within his heart. And Lord reveals this in Bhagavad Gita. In the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, the last verse, 10.11, that reveals Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamahanashamya Atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. So Lord is residing in the heart and with the light of knowledge, anukampa hai unki. So this is his compassion that with the light of knowledge, he drives away all kinds of ignorances. And in this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has written some amazing prayers where he is saying that in my heart resides duplicity, insincerity, the desire for fame and the 6 enemies. What are these 6 enemies? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara, lust, anger, greed, envy, fear, illusion, intoxication, all these anarthas, all these unwanted qualities, all this pollution is there in our heart. So therefore, we pray at the lotus feet of Lord Nrsmhadev to purify our heart and give us the desire, give us the mercy to serve Lord Shri Krishna. So again, we are begging for that mercy and all our impediments to be removed. And this prayer, how do we pray for the mercy of the Lord to engage in his devotion service? Simply by raising our hands and calling out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we are learning these amazing truths from the great acharyas, that how we can take to the shelter. And what's the mood? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is revealing this mood, that weepingly I beg Lord Nrsmhadev that I may worship Shri Radha Madhav and develop attraction for the holy name. By the mercy of devotees, all obstacles are transcended. So again, this is where we should understand that although this form of the Lord is terrible for the evil, he is exceedingly auspicious for the devotees. And this is devotees headed by Prahlad Maharaj. And of course, Prahlad Maharaj has this mood of Das and Udas. He is always glorifying his spiritual master Narad Muni, and this narration of the story of Prahlad Maharaj as how Lord Nrsmhadev appeared was actually recited by Devashi Narad to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So here the spiritual master is glorifying his disciple. And Lord Nrsmhadev, when he will become pleased and with mercy, he will speak to us, we, like our worthless fool, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals, and he can remove any fears, then to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as he's writing, Lord Nrsmhadev is saying, dear child, stay here happily in Gauradham, worship Shri Radha Madhav and develop attraction for the holy name. By the mercy of my devotees, all obstacles are transcended. So again, this is where Sadhu Sangha, devotee association is very important, which is like a fence on our garden, the garden of our heart, where Bhakti Lata is, sprouting and growing with the watering, which is like the chanting of the holy name, is like the watering to this Bhakti Lata, the seed of devotion that is growing into this creeper. All we have to do is make sure that we are always in the association of devotees. By the mercy of the association of devotees, they will protect us from these various kind of external impediments, especially all kinds of enemies, even within the heart, that are hiding us, polluting us, but they will keep us inspired, drive us towards the lotus feet of Shri Radha Madan Mohan. So this is the mood that even with these prayers, we can take shelter, and Lord will instill fearlessness in our heart. And he is always enlightening Prahlad Maharaj from within the heart, right? With the light of knowledge, he drives all the darkness away. So all this pollution, all this feeling of name, fame, and glories, all these anarthas, kam, krodh, lobh, man, matsara, they are like pollution. They are like darkness. Ignorance is like darkness. So all this is driven away. So again, Lord Nrsmhadev, he kills the nescience that attacks the devotees. And his mercy is distributed like moonshine. So we all can appreciate moonshine is very cooling. Especially in this summer season, we can appreciate moonshine because it is cooling. It has that cooling effect. It makes us, all our agitation of our limbs are calmed at that time. And his face is like that of lion. And this lion face, Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance, is very ferocious and fearful for the non-devotees, for the materialist, but it is very much instilling fearlessness in our heart. So let us offer our respectful obeisances unto him again and again. Koti Koti Pranam. So again, from this beautiful verse that we covered today, we can take to the lesson, and I will cover the story of Prahlad Maharaj in short, yet at the same time discussing various lessons as how we can remember, how we can understand that Lord Nrsimhadev, how he protected Prahlad Maharaj, and how his appearance has had external reasons, internal reasons, and so many wonderful, promises and assurances that we receive. So first, I would like to identify this story as a 3-strike rule. So we all know that Hiranyakashipu, he was a demon. He was a Daitya Raj. Daitya means sons of Diti. Adityas are sons of Aditi, and both Diti and Aditi, their husband, one common person, Kashyapa Muni. He was the husband. So Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they were two brothers. Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Varahadev. So Hiranyakashipu became a dire enemy of Lord Vishnu, saying that he appeared in the form of Varaha to kill my brother. I will kill him. So he was looking for Lord Vishnu, and so he, by the instruction of his spiritual master Shukracharya, had gone into meditation and had received a boon from Lord Brahma that he could not be killed morning or in night, right? Inside the house, outside the house, by any astra shastra, means weapons that are thrown and that are held in the hand when we are fighting. He could not be defeated on a battlefield or at home. He could not be defeated, killed in air or on the ground or in the waters. He could not be killed during the day or in night. He could not be killed by the 8.4 million species that were created by Lord Brahma. So he's covering himself with all these various kind of, permutation combinations to cover everything as if to become immortal. Yet at the same time, he is having this feeling of animosity towards Lord Vishnu. So he's looking for Lord Vishnu, and he is not able to find. So he is thinking that Lord has, driven away. He has, he has scared the Lord Vishnu. So with this mode, he is ruling the whole universe. So much so that he is carrying out the activities of Indra, Vayu, and Sun God alone. And during his reign, from the materialistic perspective, everything was perfect, because the earth was prosperous, people were getting to eat whatever they wanted, they were materially very opulent, they had all kind of facilities. However, they were at the bodily level. So internally, everyone was disturbed. Everyone was aspiring for new things and lamenting over the past. So even though materially everything looks very nice, but when internal happiness is not there, when everyone is constantly lamenting about their past, I could have done this, I could have done that, I would have received this, I would have, got better house, better promotion, better job, all this kind of is constant anxiety, and then aspiring for future. So again, people were in this mood, but there was no peacefulness, even in the heart of Hiranyakashipu. And when Hiranyakashipu had returned after getting the boon, of course, Devashi Narad delivered him his wife and her son, Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj was taken under the care of Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya. And just like we, when these kids start going to school, we sometimes like to ask kids, what have you learned? So strike one is where Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad Maharaj, why he very nicely picks his son, puts him on his lap, and he's very affectionately asks, what have you learned? Tell me something that's best that you have learned. And when we as parents pick up the kids who are going to the school for the first time, we expect to hear what? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, or Baba, black sheep, or, Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa. So those kind of, and that makes us very happy, right? We become very joyful. Oh, the kid is learning something at school. So he was expecting something like that. But what did Prahlad Maharaj say? His response was that, oh, best of the asuras. So again, this is glorification. Hiranyakashipu would feel very nice when he would be addressed as, the best of the asuras, the demonic king of the demons. So again, this is the mood that he had, that Asura Raj. That's what he would like to be called. As far as I have learned from my spiritual masters, so again, he is saying that what I have learned today from my teachers, right? Any person who has accepted this temporary body and the temporary household life is certainly impressed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well, andhakupam, right? He's saying that a person who has accepted this body and who has accepted everything that's related to the body is actually in a dark well. And in this dark well, there's no water, only suffering. One should give up this position. One should give up understanding that I am this body. It takes to understanding that who we are the living entities. But he is saying that give up this position on the bodily level, on the bodily platform, and go to the forest and take to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Engage in Krishna consciousness, because the forest, they are in the mode of goodness. City is in the mode of passion, and brothels and all the liquor shops and all those places, nightclubs, they are in the mode of ignorance. So of course, by going to one which is in the mode of goodness, and specifically, particularly Srila Prabhupada, he says that Vrindavan, a holy dham. When you go to the holy place, you are in the association of devotees. Devotional service is spontaneous, so you have that fence all around you, and you can easily engage in devotional service. And of the 5 most potent forms of devotional service, it is one of them, residing at dham. Because there, even a person who's new to Krishna consciousness can experience love of Godhead. And this is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami himself in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So yes, we should reside at a dham, that's one. We should worship the Lordship, the deity form. We should read Srimad Bhagavatam. We should chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And most importantly, the 5th one is in the association of devotees. Always stay in the association of devotees. So of the 5, the association of devotees is the most important one. So we should always keep association of devotees. And we should give up the association of non-devotees. Now when Hiranyakashipu hears this response from his son, he does not take it very seriously. Why? Because he thinks that this is a small child. What does a small child know? Maybe somebody has polluted his mind. So he tells his teachers, Chanda and Amarka, hey, it seems like some Vaishnavas are getting into your school and they are polluting the child of my son. Please, stop. Keep a watch out there. Don't let any Vaishnava, any of the devotee of Lord Vishnu come into your school so as to pollute the mind of my son. So they understand this instruction very nicely and they take him. And so now Chanda and Amarka, they are very nicely guarding Prahlad Maharaj. And they're making sure that he is, understanding all the kind of diplomatic education, how to be a demon, a great demon, how to manipulate others, how to rule over others, how to instill fears in others. All these philosophies that sometimes we see, supply and demand, all the relativity within this world. How can we make more money? How can we, basically richness as taught in the school is, if others are poor, you are rich. That's the mindset. So all this relative knowledge is being spread, is being taught to Prahlad Maharaj. And of course, he is always remembering Lord Vishnu. He has already received this wonderful knowledge in the womb of his mother. So he is not taking all that very seriously. And in this mood, as he is, constantly studying, there is a moment that Chanda and Amarka, they say, okay, first strike was heavy, but it seems like Prahlad has learned very well what we have been teaching him. So they take him, this time, so that Hiranyakashipu can see how well they are teaching him. And so Prahlad Maharaj's mother, she prepares, dresses him very nicely after giving him bath. Very nicely dressed. Prahlad Maharaj, he comes and pays obeisances at the feet of Hiranyakashipu, the king, as he was seated on the throne. So Hiranyakashipu, seeing his son, in Dandvat, in that prostrated form, paying obeisances to him, he, as a father, he gets tears in his eyes, he smiles, he picks up Prahlad, makes him sit on his lap, as fathers do, smells his hair, and looks at his face, holding very nicely in his palm. And so in his very affectionate way, he is saying, my dear Prahlad, my dear son, oh, you live a long life, Ayushman Bhava. And so for so much time you have heard many things from your teachers. Now please repeat to me whatever you think is the best of all that knowledge. So again he is asking, just tell me anything now that you have understood very well. Chandra Namarkas is standing right there. So I want to hear what is the best of all knowledge that you have heard. And this is very interesting that he has this executive mindset, because what he's asking is, I don't want to hear the whole story. Just give me the conclusion. I just want to know what is the status, what's the final conclusion that you have come to. And he's expecting that Prahlad Maharaj will tell him something, that how can you be a great king, how can you rule over others. And Prahlad Maharaj, what does he say? Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. He is talking about the 9 processes of devotional service. Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So Shavanam, hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chanting is again Kirtanam. So Kirtanam is not just chanting or singing, doing the Kirtan, but also, glorifying the Lordship. Kirti, Bhagwan ki jo Kirti hote hai, usko glorification kehte hai. So that is what it is. So he is saying glorifying the Lordship, chanting his glories, and constantly remembering him. And Prahlad Maharaj is an example of constantly remembering. He's always remembering. And all the smart people, they have this particular mantra properly, taken to their heart. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavya na jatuchit sarva vidhi nishedasya reta yoreva kinkara. So smartavya satatam Vishnu, always remember Krishna. Vismartavya na jatuchit, never forget Krishna. Sarva vidhi nishedasya reta yoreva kinkara. All other rules and regulations, all other aspects to the devotion are subservient to these 2 principles. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And then Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, just like Goddess of Lakshmi. She's always serving the lotus feet, which is making sure that Lord is comfortable and all carrying out his orders. Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam. Archanam. Archana is worshipping the Lord, Archa Vigraha form that we worship. And of course, Prithu Maharaj is the example for Archanam. Vandanam, singing prayers to the Lordship. And of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear so many personalities praying to the Lordship. And Akrura is the example who satisfied the Lord and attained perfection by Vandanam. Yet in Srimad Bhagavatam, the longest prayers are sung by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Dasyam, Lord Hanuman, he serves the Lord as his servant. And then Sakyam, Arjun is a friend to the Lordship. So these are examples, these are the role models in various devotional service. Even taking one of the devotional service, one can attain perfection. And Atma Nivedanam. Atma Nivedanam, the example of Atma Nivedanam, the role model is Daityaraj Bali Maharaj, the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So he gave everything, including himself, to the Lordship. And so he purchased Lord Vaman Dev, who became the doorkeeper at his palace in Sutala. So again, this is where Lord wants to glorify the devotees and devotees want to glorify the Lord. There is a loving exchange here. And when Hiranyakashipu hears Prahlad Maharaj listing all these 9 processes of devotional service, he becomes angry. He's like, what are you teaching my son? He is angry at who? The teachers. Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya. And at that particular time, he is saying, what are you teaching this nonsense? What are you teaching my son? This is not what I want to hear. And they are trembling. They are trembling that Hiranyakashipu, he is going to kill us at any moment. He is upset with us. This is dangerous. He is the Lord of the universe and he is upset with us. They said, no, 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 no. We have never taught anything and we have been keeping a good watch. We didn't see, we do not know where he is learning all this, all this knowledge. And then he warns them that make sure that such an event does not happen, does not repeat, and they have to make sure that Prahlad Maharaj is getting the right education. And so this time he is angry. His partial anger is towards Prahlad Maharaj because he's thinking that what is Prahlad Maharaj learning, from where is he learning, and he is becoming an ally of my enemy, while his anger is actually directly directed towards the two teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya. Now when Prahlad Maharaj goes to Gurukul, this time all the sons of the demons who are his classmates, they are curious. Prahlad does not play with us. He's always rejoicing. He's always happy. So they are inquiring. So Prahlad Maharaj reveals to them कि उन्होंने अपनी mother के womb में, what did he learn in his mother's womb? When his mother Kayatu, she was saved by Narad Muni from the demigods who wanted to actually kill the son in her womb, the baby in her womb. Now what is the effect? There is a preaching going on within the Gurukul. And what happens that all the sons of the demons, they become devotee of the Lord. And seeing that everyone is becoming devotee of Lord Vishnu, Shanda and Amarka, they are really bewildered. They are in fearful state. Previously it was only one Prahlad Maharaj. And their materialistic mindset, what they are thinking, एक खराब मछली पूरे तालाब को खराब कर देती है. One dirty fish can spoil the whole lake. So they are in this mood and they go and report it to Hiranyakashipu. He's like, your son is actually doing all these things. So now Hiranyakashipu, he is furious. He says, kill this boy. He is so furious. So he's telling his own. And now we have seen so many examples even in current times. When someone who's like a very rich person, he's so much attached to wealth that sometimes they give orders to kill their own children. Give orders to kill their own brothers and sisters. They are looking, so this is Hiranyakashipu's mindset, the demonic mindset, that I am Lord of all things, I have defeated all my enemies, I will prevail, everyone will be worshipping me. This is the mindset that Hiranyakashipu is showing. Even in the current times, we see so many examples of this. Now Prahlad Maharaj, he is given poison to drink by his own mother. It becomes Amrit when he takes it because he's always meditating on Lord Vishnu. When he is thrown in a well filled with cobras, the snakes, he still survives. He's thrown from the top of a hilltop, from a cliff. He still survives. And now this is bewildering. All his soldiers, they are trying to kill him with various kind of weapons and nothing is hurting. Even Holika, the sister of Hiranyakashipu, she had actually a boon that she would wear this nice cloth, the shawl, and she would sit in the fire and the fire would not burn her. But what happens? That when she takes Prahlad in her lap and sits in the fire, it was Prahlad who doesn't burn and she burns down. And that's also something celebrated the evening before Holi, the festival of colors. So again, Holika is the name. From her, the name Holi comes. And so now Hiranyakashipu is bewildered that even by the mad elephant, they could not trample Prahlad. Where is he getting all this strength? So again, two strikes have happened. First strike when he was expecting twinkle twinkle little star, but he was told, don't consider yourself this body or things related to this body. Otherwise, you will be in a dark well. Second one is processes, the 9 processes of devotional service. Now he is in a fearful state. He's thinking, where is he getting all this strength, all this protection? Who's protecting him? How is he so powerful? He seems to be as powerful as I am. And this is a fearful state because he is not looking at Prahlad as his son. He is looking at Prahlad as a devotee of Lord Vishnu. And he is in this fearful state. He is now calling, he summons Prahlad And as soon as Prahlad Maharaj comes, he is looking at his father, and he immediately pays obeisances. Yet Hiranyakashipu, what is he saying? He's rebuking Prahlad Maharaj. He's saying, "Oh, most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family." This is like, sometimes in India there's this saying, kalank hai kulpe. So this is like the destroyer of the family, the disruptor of the family, or lowest of mankind, Naradhama. So you have violated my power to rule you. You have disobeyed my order. He's saying that you are an obstinate fool in this way. And I will send you to the place of Yamraj, because he himself has decided, while nobody could kill him, I will kill him, because, of course, if there is a fight between Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu was very confident. He cannot be killed, because he cannot be killed inside the house, outside the house, on the battlefield, by any of the 8.4 million kind of species, categories of species, as well as day or night, and so forth. So again, with that boon, he was thinking, I'm fully protected, and I will myself kill this devotee of Vishnu. He was not looking at his son as his, this is my son. He was looking at his son as an enemy, an ally of Vishnu. So in this way, when he is calling that my son Prahlad, he knows that this is my son, but he's saying, you rascal. He's calling out various names, obstinate names. And he's saying that when I am angry, all the planets in the three worlds, they tremble, along with their chief rulers, various planets, and they have the presiding deities. Just like Som is the presiding deity of moon, Vivaswan is the presiding deity of sun, and Prithvi Devi, she is the presiding deity of earth. So they tremble when his eyebrows go up. And he's saying, by whose power you have become so impudent, and you appear fearless and overstepping my power to rule over you. So again, he is asking this question to Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj, in a very humble mood, in a very soft, sweet voice, is responding that, my dear king. So he is still respecting that, please give up this mentality. This is a demonic mentality. You should not discriminate in your heart between friends and enemies. Should not think on the bodily level. Make your mind equipoised and have equal vision towards others. So this is very important instruction, because in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna reveals this to Arjuna. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni cha vashopake cha pandita samadarshina. So one who is intelligent, vidya vinaya sampanne, one who has proper knowledge, he looks at Brahmane or Brahman, Gavi, a cow, Hastini, an elephant, Shuni Cheva Shopakicha, a dog and a dog eater, with equal vision, knowing that everyone is a living entity, and these various vehicles represented as bodies, and Lord, loves every living entity, because he's a supreme father, he's a best friend, he's a benefactor, he's a well-wisher. So this is the equal vision. So he is actually telling his father that you should not discriminate in your mind. This is not the proper behavior. This is a demonic behavior. And without the Supreme Lord, nothing can get any strength. No one can get any strength. So the source of your strength is the same source of my strength. And Lord Krishna reveals this in Bhagavad Gita, Paurusham Nishu. Now as Hiranyakashipu is hearing, he had been looking for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, everywhere, so that he can avenge his brother. So he is saying, where is your Lord? And Prahlad Maharaj says, he's everywhere. And hearing this, Hiranyakashipu, he is thinking that this son is, really an ally of my enemy. And he's saying, is he in the pillar? Prahlad Maharaj says, yes. Since he is everywhere, he is also in the pillar. Hearing this, Hiranyakashipu picks up his sword and he punches as he is approaching Prahlad Maharaj to kill Prahlad Maharaj. At that time, he punches the pillar. And at that time, as soon as he punches the pillar, there is a tumultuous sound that, is there, and the whole pillar burst into pieces, and Lord Nrsmhadeva appears. And Lord Nrsimha, when he appears, Hiranyakashipu, sometimes people they think that, okay, seeing Nrsmhadev, this demon would be fearing. No, actually, he is waiting to fight with Lord Vishnu. He understands that yes, now this time Vishnu, just like in his brother's case, had appeared as a Varaha incarnation. Here he has appeared as Nrsimha incarnation. He is neither a lion nor a man. And Hiranyakashipu immediately picks up his shield and jumps to fight. And there is a great fight between Lord Nrsmhadeva and Hiranyakashipu. And it appears that Lord Nrsimhadeva have held, Hiranyakashipu in his grip. And that time, all the demigods, they were watching from behind the clouds, and they start cheering the Lord. Sometimes when our team is winning, we start cheering, yes, do it, just make it happen. So as they start cheering, and then Hiranyakashipu, he somehow gets out of that grip. At that time, he looks at all the demigods. Yeah, I know, you guys were cheering. They are in a fearful state. They're amazed. They're like, oh, he just got out of the grip. So they immediately hide back behind those clouds. They immediately hide in their hiding spots. And now Hiranyakashipu is again preparing himself. And again, he is fighting with the Lord. And of course, Lord, he makes Hiranyakashipu at the doorstep of his assembly hall. On his thighs, he rips off his stomach and wears the intestines of Hiranyakashipu as the garland. So now Lord, he has killed Hiranyakashipu neither inside the house nor outside the house. Right? He is at the doorstep. Neither during the day nor during the night, because this is dusk time, the twilight time. So nobody could say it's a day or night. He has neither killed Hiranyakashipu with a living or dead element, because the nails are said to be neither living or dead. You cannot say that they are living or dead. So again, he is appearing as half lion, half man. So not fully in any of the 8.5 categories of living entities, the bodies, the materialist bodies. So from that perspective, he is meeting all this, and he is wearing the garland. And at that time, so this is strike 3, that Hiranyakashipu is killed by Lord Nrsimhadev. And at that time, Lord Brahma prays to him, Lord Shiva prays to him, Lord Indra prays to him, the demigods are praying to him, the residents of various different planets are praying to him, Vidyadhara planets, Siddhiloka planets, all these great personalities, they are praying to him. And at the end, it appears that Lord is never satisfied. Even Nanda and Sunanda, they are praying to him that, my dear Lord, you have killed Hiranyakashipu, who is none other than Jay, and Hiranyakshus, Vijay. And these were the 2 gatekeepers who were serving you, but were cursed by the 4 Brahmanas, the Chatur Kumaras. And you have very nicely, relieved him from this demoniac body. So here, the great revelation happens. And even then, Lord is not satisfied. So Lord Brahma, he requests Prahlad Maharaj that, my dear Prahlad, Lord Nrsimhadev is very angry at your father. So please try to pacify him. He appeared to protect you. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkitam dharma sansthapanathaye sambhavami yoge yoge. Lord appears to protect his devotees and to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principles of religions. And he appears millennium after millennium. And in this current age, he has appeared as his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So sometimes this question may be asked, whom did Lord Nrsimhadev save? Actually, everyone thinks that it was Prahlad Maharaj, but it was mainly Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was cursed to be a demon, but he is a devotee of the Lord Jai. So again, a doorkeeper in Vaikuntha. And so when Hiranyakashipu was about to kill Prahlad Maharaj, just before that, Lord killed him. Why? Killed his body. So he destroyed his material body. Yet the spiritual body again goes back and prepares for the second birth, which is, of course, as Ravan in Treta Yuga. So again, here we hear some amazing lessons. Just like when we hear Govardhan Leela, and everyone's thinking that Lord, he protected all the Vrajvasis at that time. But whom he protected the most? Indra, by destroying his pride, because it was the pride of Indra was destroying him, taking him down. Pride cometh before fall. So Lord destroyed pride of Indra. So similarly in this case, Lord destroyed Hiranyakashipu, his material form, so that his devotees can be saved, yet at the same time the very soul, the devotee. So again, Hiranyakashipu was truly a devotee of the Lord who was under the protection of Mahamaya. Yogamaya. Mahatmanastu Mampata Yogim Praktim Ashraya. So again, that's why he was under the illusion. Because of Yogamaya, he was such an amazing demon, such a powerful demon, not like the demon we see in today's times. He alone could do the function of Suryadev, taking the chariot around the earth. He could make sure that everything is perfectly running. He was so powerful, he was carrying out the duties of Indra himself. All these demigods were standing in his assembly, paying him obeisances, and he was rebuking them, making them work as his servants. So such a great demon, but he was inimical towards a devotee, and that was a Vaishnava Prad. That's a mad elephant disease that destroyed him. So taking shelter of Lord Nrsmhadev, who gives protection to his devotees, we should always be reciting and chanting his glories. And today's verse is all about instilling fearlessness in the heart of devotees. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. Shri Nrsimha Jaya Jaya Nrsimha Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. So now I would like to cover quickly, what do preachers, people who are distributing this knowledge, sharing this knowledge with others, understand from these, the 3 strike lessons that we heard? The first strike was when Prahlad Maharaj said, don't think yourself to be this body. And because if you think that you are this body, then janasya moho aham mameti. So again, that we are thinking this is my body is me and everything belonging to this body is mine, then I leads to envy and mind leads to lust. And these are the dire enemies. Lust is a dire enemy of ours. So these anarthas can make us fall down. That's like andhakupam. We are in a dark well. And we to take shelter of the devotees, we should take to Krishna consciousness, which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But if we say, such a statement to someone who's new, the person will feel fear, because just like Hiranyakashipu was thinking, oh, this knowledge my child is getting from the wrong sources. And he asked his teachers to protect his child from getting in the association of devotees of Lord Vishnu. So that is like the 3rd step. And of course, the 9th process of devotional service is better, rather to engage others in devotional service than telling them what not to do, because that may disturb them. If their materialistic activities are thinking I'm this body and everything belonging to this body, if we tell them, then it may become very difficult for them to take. So that should come later. First is to engage everyone in devotion service. So speak in a palatable manner the truth and engage others. Agyat Sukriti becomes a way just engaging others. And of course, today happens to be the Disciplines Day of Jayananda Prabhu. And he, by his own example, he would show how one can attract others. He would, he was a taxi driver, and many times he would be fixing his taxi, and he would use whatever income he was getting from taxi to run the management and run the facilities at the San Francisco temple and later at Manhattan temple. So he, when he was fixing his, under the car as he's fixing, he would just see someone walking by and he would very sweetly ask them to, can you provide me this instrument, that instrument? And passers-by would stop. Oh, he's asking for this. They would pick up, oh, this particular item you want, this. And so he was engaging them. There are devotees who reveal that they became devotee by seeing Jayananda Prabhu collecting trash from the trash cans. And he was in such a blissful, he had such a wonderful smile on his face. And he was so calm, so humble, always in bliss, always in a surrendered mood, that they would see if a person who is picking up garbage is in such a blissful state, what can we talk about the persons who are dancing inside? So that attractive feature of Jananda Prabhu was sufficient for people to become devotees of the Lord, to take to Krishna consciousness. Once it is said that when there was some extra prasadam, not yet eaten by others, as they were taking it through the subway, he said, let's just do little kirtan, I'll do kirtan. And he asked another devotee, who was a new devotee, to just distribute the remaining prasadam to the passers-by. Now this devotee felt very odd. He's like, how can I pass this to the passers-by? It looks very inappropriate. And when he revealed that I can't do that, Jananda Prabhu did not become upset at all. He actually smiled back. He said, okay. So he was always trying to see how can we make things work. So he said, why don't you do Harinam and I will. Why don't you chant and I will distribute it. And the devotee, he simply sat down and started doing Harinam. And at that time, Jananda Prabhu, with a wonderful smile, he would pass on the remaining prasadam that was there to the passers-by, and they collected it. So what was in a very difficult situation from the devotee's perspective came out to be a magnanimous, a wonderful experience where passers-by appreciated the chanting as well as the wonderful prasadam. And they were engaged in Agyat Sukriti, a pious activity unknowingly in this manner. So their Krishna consciousness was sprouting unknowingly. So this is amazing example. And Jananda Prabhu, he disappeared on today's date. So again, from that perspective, Srila Prabhupada said that he has gone back to Godhead. So the garland on the deity, it fell at that moment when Srila Prabhupada heard the disappearance, that Jananda Prabhu is not anymore. And he said that he has gone back home, back to Godhead, and that his picture, later on Srila Prabhupada also added, that his picture should be on every Ratha for the Jagannath Ratha Yatra. So in the Western as well as all around the world, whenever there is a Rath Yatra carried out by the ISKCON devotees, his picture is always in the front, to inspire us how we can become a devotee of the Lord. And His Holiness Mukunda Goswami, he also covers in his book, The Miracle on 2nd Avenue, as how once he was, a Mridanga had arrived and how he's learned a mantra from Srila Prabhupada. And as he was going back to see Srila Prabhupada, there was a taxi that stopped in front of the temple, and the person, the taxi driver, he was, really a straight-cut guy, short hair, very nice face, nice slacks, very clean. And he was saying, hey, where can I find more of these magazines? Is there a Hare Krishna temple here? He said, yeah, it's right here. He pointed. And then he said, the taxi driver said, hey, I'm Jim. So Maharaj shook his hand. He was at that time disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So he shook the hand of this taxi driver who said his name is Jim. And he said, can I get more of these Back to Godhead? He said, sure. He said, can you get me some? Because my passengers, they really like reading Back to Godhead magazine. So he went and got 10 or some from the temple, His Holiness Mukunda Goswami, and then he handed him. So at that time, he had Jim, and again, the taxi driver was sitting in the taxi, and he took with both his hands, appreciated it, thanked him, and then drove away. And 3 days later, he again appeared. So the same taxi driver appeared, and he, this time, was seeking to, meet Srila Prabhupada. And at that time, His Holiness said, well, he's right there. Why don't you go and meet him? And he was surprised, just like that? Can I just go and meet Srila Prabhupada? He was amazed because he was reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And he wanted to meet, yet at the same time, it was so simple, he couldn't believe his ears. He went and saw Srila Prabhupada. In a week later from that day, he actually moved into the temple. And later on, whatever he was earning, he was giving it to the management for the running of the temple at that time. And so Srila Prabhupada made him the temple president because of his giving attitude. He was engaged in loving exchange with the devotees, with his spiritual master Srila Prabhupada. And this Jim, the taxi driver, was none other than Jayananda Prabhu. And with such a beautiful smile, such a wonderful, dealings in a humble way, with a mood of gratitude, he would make all others devotees. The temples were prospering. And when Srila Prabhupada was in Manhattan Temple at that time, when he heard about Jayananda Prabhu passing away, he immediately said that he was the very best of all my disciples. He gave 5,000 US dollars at that time for the printing of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, so that this knowledge can be spread all around the world. And Srila Prabhupada had tears in his eyes, and he used his handkerchief to wipe off these tears, and he said that Jayananda Prabhu has gone back home, back to Godhead. So in Mayapur, I believe there is a Samadhi of Jayananda Thakur. And here we can take inspiration for such wonderful personalities who inspire us how we can engage in this loving exchange. So not agitating the mind of others, that is the most important thing. We should not agitate the minds of others, follow the examples of such exalted personalities. That's the first approach. Then to engage others in devotional service, that's the second step. And then the third step is help them understand that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. Jive Rasarupoya Krishna Nityadas. We are eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, and so we can attain the goal through the process of devotional service in the association of devotees, by taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, by following his instructions taken to our heart as life and soul. And similarly, for practitioners, sadhakas, it is very important to understand this three-strike rule. What first step is, always start with why. Validate what we are learning. Why are we learning what we are learning? What is the purpose? Are we learning it for name, fame, and glories? Are we learning it to appear like a scholars? Are we learning it to show so many shlokas that I know compared to others? How many verses do I know? How many difficult things that I can interpret? No, we are learning it so that our heart becomes pure of all the impurities. Right? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara. All these are impurities. These are anarthas. And we want to be enlightened by the light of knowledge. Bhagavad Prakash, the light of Bhagavata. Right? That's what we want to understand in truth. So why are we learning all this knowledge? So that we can live in the right way and understand that this human form of life is a boon that we have received, which is a perfect boat to cross over this ocean of nescience. And now, how do we cross over the ocean of nescience? That brings us to the second step. When we get the knowledge, then we engage in devotional service. We check our process regularly in devotional service. How humble are we? How tolerant are we? How we are dealing with others? And we should deal with others as we want to be dealt by others. So again, this is very important aspects. So that we can attain the third step, which is the goal, Krishna Prema. That is the what. It comes the last. Yet at the same time, that is the direction we should be driving at. Not running after name, fame, and glory, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals. Or being driven by the anarthas, being driven by the mind. Rather, we should engage our mind in devotional service. And the process is simply to engage our mind in listening to the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So Shri Nrsmhadev Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Please join us for Nrsmhadev Aarti. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Pad ki jai. Jayananda Prabhu ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namaste Nrsimhaya, Namaste Nrsimhaya, Prahlad Lad Daine, Prahlad Lad Daine, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha, Shilatanka Nakhalaye, Shilatanka Nakhalaye, Ito Nasimho Parato Nasimho, Ito Nasimho Parato Nasimho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimho, Vahe Nasimho, Hridaye Nasimho, Vahe Nasimho, Hridaye Nasimho, Nrsnghadev Sharanam Prapadye, Nrsnghadev Sharanam Prapadye, तव कर कमल वरे नखाम अद्भुत सिंहाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगम केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल वरे नखाम अद्भुत सिंहाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगम केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। भक्त विघ्ननाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय शीला प्रभुपाद की जय शीला भगवत्पाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव विंद की जय निताय गो प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम तत्सत हरे कृष्णा।